operations. Let's bring back Tom here. Given the Cavs' history under Dan Gilbert, the owner, with this position, if you're a rising candidate, why would you consider going to Cleveland when you are hearing that, the average for this position is around $4 million around the league, and the offer that Chauncey got was less than $2 million per?
I'm not sure why the money really matters here. I mean, it's supposed to matter, but in this case, Chauncey's made a boatload of dough. I would think he'd be more interested in the right fit and the opportunity to succeed. He's never done this job. He's a rookie GM. If you look at other rookie comparable general managers or presidents of basketball, whatever you want to call them, the number's actually way below $2 million. Most come in closer to $1 million. So I think he's getting double the money here as an offer of what a normal person should get. Now, he's not a normal person. He's Mr. Big Shot. He's a big-time brand in and of himself. And he's sitting at ESPN where he's doing a phenomenal job on the air and presumably can continue to do that. So I think for him it's more about the right fit for the long term. If he really wants to do this job, it shouldn't come down to the money. It should come down more to the opportunity. To your point on that graphic, seems to be we cycle through quite a few people at this organization rather than having stability and long-term opportunity to make your imprint for the next 5-10 years. So it's curious to me the way this news broke, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. There's only really 3 weeks where you need somebody at the helm making these decisions, and we just passed 2 of them with the draft and with free agency. So it may be a while before there's somebody in Cleveland.
Brian, you want to weigh in on something like this, considering, what this position is and what Griffin did previously in trying to balance this position?
Well, Tom brings up a lot of good points. I mean, we have to remember who we're talking about here with Dan Gilbert. He doesn't value this position. He doesn't value this position. So if Chauncey's going in looking for $4 million, which I understand why he would want that. Like, Tom's right about what entry-level GM salaries are, and some people look at Pelinka and go, wait a minute, how come he's making all this money with the Lakers? Well, there's another concept of it that he's been in the league. He's been an agent. He's been part of this thing for a really long time, and Chauncey's come from the outside. But I remember when Mark Jackson wanted a head coaching gig. It's like, well, why don't you become an assistant? Mark Jackson's like, because I'm Mark Jackson. I don't need to wait around. And guess what? He didn't have to. He ended up getting the head coaching gig. Jason Kidd got a head coaching gig right away. Some of these guys that are such big-name players go, why would I have to wait and be an assistant GM or take less money than anybody else? I don't need to do that. Let me start the ticker at an even higher number. The problem is Chauncey maybe trying to do it with one of the cheapest owners when it comes to this position, which is so ironic because the last thing you could ever call Gilbert is cheap. Gilbert has been the furthest thing from cheap as an owner his entire time in Cleveland. He just doesn't think the GM should make that much money. He hasn't re-signed any of them.
It's fascinating, too, because the GM's going to be pivotal in the next year with the idea of LeBron potentially leaving.
But I do think the biggest thing that we learned from that story, and I talked to some sources yesterday about this, the idea that once Billups turned it down, we all just go, LeBron's out of here. He had talked to Chauncey. Chauncey's like, all right, and that's just not true. That conversation did not happen, according to multiple people that I talked to, and then Chauncey even backed that up in his piece with was it The Undefeated, where that came out last night. So there you go.
Well, I think it's also interesting how much of that determined also Chauncey's decision, thinking that potentially LeBron may not stay.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that happened, though.
And he's friends with Ty Lue.
Right. People thought LeBron was leaving before the whole Chauncey thing. So
yeah, I mean, that's the other thing if you're Chauncey. You're like, wait a minute, you just gave Ty Lue like $7 million and he hadn't been a coach before? And it's just, I mean, we don't have to actually dig that deep. Gilbert's not going to pay the GM a lot, and I could totally understand why Chauncey would want to get paid because he's Chauncey Billups.
Brian, thank you so much. Reason, that's what he brings here to the set. Tom, thank you so much as well, bringing the numbers as well as reason as well. Now, let's just throw reason out the door and let's claim the Sixers are going to win the NBA Finals, right? Because
have fun with that. All right,
great.
Go ahead.
All right.
This is your part of the show.
This is my part because I've trusted the process for quite some time. Kevin Durant liking what he sees from Markelle Fultz there, especially his first game. The Hesse pull-up Jimbo, what's that?
Hesse pull-up Jimbo? It's just saying like a nice heads-up pull-up. I mean, it's back DC, like DMV talk, but a lot of basketball players, just talk like that, so it's pretty fun.
#1 pick overall in the draft last month, looking very good. The floater in the lane early on, taking on the Jazz Summer League, and this is a beautiful play. A little spin move, a little stop, pop, and drop. It looked good. That jumper was silky smooth. Big fourth quarter for Fultz. Loses control, but never really loses control. inside, can play both guard positions, combo guard at 6'4", 195 pounds. In this fourth quarter, he had 13 points. That step-back threes is money right there. Sixers would lose. He finished the game with 23 points. I'm sure KD and many pleased.
The Celtics, they know it's early, but man, would they love to believe that this guy is going to be for real. And so far, he looks like it. And he's also making his mom very proud.
You want him to do so well, but you give him that pregame speech too, like, just be calm down and do your best, and it'll all work out. But I was so proud of him. I mean, 21 points in his debut. I did get on him, though. I was like, I need 3 more rebounds, a double-double.
Pass for Jason Tatum, looking for that double-double for his mom against the Spurs here off the missed 3. He comes flying in. Look at that putback jam. We're going to show it to you one more time. Tatum ended up with 10 rebounds in the game, just like his mother ordered. How about that? And then later, Tatum off the ball there on the wing, cuts backdoor, finishes with the huge two-hand slam. Another look there. Pretty impressive. Tatum having himself a game. And here off the Spurs turnover, he gets it ahead. Yep, another one. 23 points, 10 rebounds for Jason Tatum, who is making those folks up in Boston smile really, really big, Jay Harris.
Yeah, Lindsay Zarniak. Last night, the official SportsCenter Twitter handle sent out this image with a quote from Celtics draftee Jason Tatum about Kobe Bryant. That's my favorite player. He was. Then I went to the Celtics. And Tatum responded to that with the crying, laughing emoji and a little shrug of the shoulders, because he's like, I'm in Boston, I'm wearing green, Kobe is a Laker, and y'all know there's this rivalry thing going on, so yeah, he's not my favorite player anymore, sorry. Love Kobe, but don't anymore, sorry.
And it's time now to check in on our morning lineups. D'Angelo Williams, he is wrestling with his future, figuratively and literally. What's next for the running back? We're going to talk about that at 9:32 Eastern. Plus, Magic Johnson and the Lakers, they are already getting ready for the 2018 offseason. Ryan Russillo returning with his take on the plan out in L.A. That's at 9:46. Stay with us.
Ahead on SportsCenter today, Ian Begley recently wrote an article titled How Carmelo Anthony Escapes from New York. Our Knicks insider brings his insight at 11 Eastern. Plus, Chris Bryant is awaiting a 4 p.m. announcement to see if fans have voted him into next week's All-Star game. He joins the show live at 11:20 Eastern to discuss. Meanwhile, the Celtics are still trying to finalize a deal for Gordon Hayward. Catch Ramona Shelburne live at 12:30 Eastern with the very latest. And as always, you can catch it all on the ESPN app.
They have to go into the corner to Waiters. Fade away. Hit it at the horn. Holy cow. Waiters with the hoop. Waiters against Lee Thompson. 3 for the win. Got it! Oh, Waiters! From downtown!
They're the moments you want to live for, especially against a great team like that. I'm in the zone right now. I'm not afraid of them type of moments. I truly believe in them type moments. And man, it feels good, man. It feels good.
Quite a resurgence for Dion Waiters in Miami last season, and especially in his final 25 games of the season. The Heat went 21-4 in those games, and Waiters shot 45% from beyond the arc. So he bet on that performance by declining his $3.2 million option for this coming season. Pretty good move. He and the Heat have agreed to a 4-year deal worth $52 million.
Another good move here, Jay. NBA free agency yesterday. Swaggy P moving north from L.A. to Oakland, taking his scoring talents to the Warriors. It's a 1-year deal, just over $5 million for that 1 year for a player who averaged 13 points for the Lakers last season. Now, new teammate Kevin Durant made sure to welcome Nick Young to the squad with this iconic miss 3 years ago, where Swaggy was the last to know the shot found more iron than nylon. He tweeted that picture out, retweeted over 80,000 times. It's the miss that keeps on giving, by the way. That tweet continues and succeeded now 85,000 retweets in the last 18, 19 hours. Lindsay?
Yeah, Kevin, he's not exactly the model of consistency, although in some ways I guess Nick Young is. Back with Ryan Russillo now. So Nick Young will not be back with the Lakers. What do you make of these moves, them clearing space for the future?
It's the only move, really, at this point. If you're the Lakers and they can say they're not rebuilding, it's such a dirty word when you talk to the marketing side of a team and the sponsorship.
Rebuilding, yeah.
It's almost like we have a really hard time with the truth, and they're rebuilding.
Right.
It's okay to say that we're rebuilding. They don't want to say it. But this is about Magic being in a position with Rob Pelinka, who's terrific as well, and being able to say to guys, when all of these dudes are free agent next summer, and we're sitting out here talking about it again, that we have space and we want to build something. Because as impressive as Magic is as a person and his resume, it's not going to matter in L.A. until there's already another star in place. These players don't go anywhere unless there's somebody already there. So keeping Nick Young for another $5 million or any of these smaller pieces, it doesn't really mean anything. Everything should be one-year deals, and everything with the Lakers should be built around Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram.
And what do you think of Young with the Warriors?
Well, there's this great thing with the Warriors. Your life just becomes that much easier. And really, I can't think of any circumstance if I were a GM if I'd be like, I got to get JaVale McGee. But if I were the Warriors, I'd want JaVale McGee. And JaVale McGee was terrific
why not,
for them. Right? Everything's easy. We're not going to ask you to do anything. So all Nick Young has to do now is take all these wide open shots because all the other guys are going to be the defensive priority. So Nick Young's going to be loving life up there. And I mean, he's a great shooter. But when you take the ball out of Nick Young's hands now where he doesn't have to make decisions, then that's the best Nick Young that you can get. It's a little different when he's running the offense and making all these decisions. He doesn't have to do any of this stuff. He's never going to have an easier time in his NBA career than what he's going to have with Golden State this year.
So basically, they let Nick Young be Nick Young. All right, Ryan Russillo, thank you.
The shooting Nick Young.
Exactly. Right, that one. All right, still ahead here, the best from around the sport.
And what the heck's going on here? The Cavs made a below-market salary offer of $2 million annually to Chauncey Billups to serve as their president of basketball operations. Our Chris Haynes and Mark Spears are reporting this. $4 million, typically the starting point of what an individual in that role should earn, according to league sources. We need more. We welcome in our NBA analyst, Ryan Russillo, who is with us right now, an NBA front office insider who comes to us from L.A., Tom Penn. Tom, I'm going to start with you. You were in an NBA front office for 11 years. All exciting, I'm sure. What's your take on what's going on with Dan Gilbert and the Cavaliers organization right now?
So curious to not have a main decision maker in basketball operations in this particular window of time. The draft and free agency, it's when everything is happening. And what they've done is they've added Jose Calderon to a minimum deal. Not exactly going to move the needle. So I find it just so odd that at this particular time of the year, that organization has chosen to go leaderless, so to speak. The top two in basketball ops move out. And Dan Gilbert is obviously making these decisions himself and is very involved and engaged, knows basketball. He can pull the trigger on deals. But at this time of year, Linda, it's not just simple linear deals. You try to hoist yourself into everything that goes on and see if you can make yourself better while all these other trades are happening. Get into a simultaneous trade. So I find it odd that they haven't had a way to attack this and get the right kind of leader in there. It's been Chauncey or nothing. They offered Chauncey apparently $2 million, which he has deemed to be below market. Others would argue that's just fine. You know, I'm not going to get into that point. Right. But they need somebody in the middle of all these deals to try to make their team better. That's the job of the basketball operations leader, and they don't have one.
I think the biggest thing here is that if you're looking at Chauncey Billups, he does not think, as Tom points out, that entry-level money, like he's going, I'm Chauncey Billups. Like,
right.
I'm not. Like, I know what other entry-level guys make, but, you know,
my stock is high right now.
Right, so I'm not going to settle here. And if we know one thing about Dan Gilbert that's consistent is that he'll pay any amount of salary. He is the furthest thing from cheap. Highest payroll again this year. Did it the last time LeBron was there. Paid Ty Lue a ton of money, but he does not value this position. So for whatever reason, the way he plans out his business model, when it comes to a team, he does not value financially this position. And so if Chauncey was looking for that big payday, which other teams may have done, even though he hasn't done the job before, because they just go on the basketball resume, that wasn't going to happen here for Billups with Dan Gilbert.
He's been consistent, at least in that area. Our Ramona Shelburne and Adrian Wojnarowski reporting that the Celtics are working to clear cap space for Gordon Hayward's max contract, discussing trades involving, you guys know the names, Marcus Smart, Jay Crowder, Avery Bradley. Tom, to you, what's the most likely scenario for the Celtics to get this done?
Well, it's been expensive so far. You know, every time we would create all that cap room on the cap machine, we never really showed what it took to get who they had to lose to create enough space, and they're not quite there yet. It's been hard so far. Tyler Zeller was waived, and then look at it. Olenek, Jerebko, Young, and Green all renounced, meaning that they take their number off the books and lose whatever preferred rights they have. That frees up the cap space, but they're not done yet. They still need to shave a couple $1 million or $1 million. How depends how you look at it. And they're going to have to move 1 or 2 players. So the conversation is around some of these key rotation players at bigger numbers. And, you know, Ryan, I don't know who you think they're most likely to move. It's hard to just speculate because you have to know what they're going to get back for that player. They're not going to just move them to get rid of them if you're talking about Crowder or Avery Bradley. But I don't know. What's your thought? Who should they move?
Well, I think that last point's a really good one because when we start looking at the cap crunch here, I've just heard people in the last 18 hours or so ask the questions of, well, you just have to dump these guys. They're all assets. You would want Marcus Smart. You would want Avery Bradley. And you would absolutely want Jay Crowder because he has an outdated contract. He's $7 million per, turns 27 today. He's under contract for about 3 more years, just over that $7 million mark. So there will be teams, especially teams with cap space, that miss out on free agency that would want these. So I think the battle, if you're the Celtics here now, is positional depth and saying maybe Crowder Hayward doesn't necessarily fit, but we know the cost certainty of what Crowder is, as opposed to Bradley, who I'm sure they'd rather keep as the basketball player, but knowing that his new contract is going to be far beyond what Crowder's getting paid right now.
Definitely an area worth watching with both of you, Ryan and Tom. You guys will be back next hour, of course, and talk about a possible landing spot for Carmelo Anthony. Look forward to that. Our next WNBA game of the week is a rematch of last year.
On a per-year basis, $100 million over 8 years.
And Jay, speaking of contracts, Dion Waiters agreeing to a 4-year deal with the Heat. That's worth $52 million, and it looks like a pretty good decision to opt out of the second year of his deal, which would have paid him $3.2 million this upcoming season. How about that, right?
Yeah, that's a smart
decision. You know, and you don't know when you're doing it, but man, when it pays off, I'm sure it's a welcome sign of relief. Hey, staying with the NBA, we're now going to welcome front office insider Bobby Marks. Bobby, it's great to have you with us. We learned more last night about the Cavaliers' offer to Chauncey Billups to become their president of basketball operations. We learned that it was under $2 million. The offer was well below the average salary. What does that tell you about how Dan Gilbert values this position when he's making a perceived lowball offer to his first choice?
Well, I think what it tells you is that Dan Gilbert has no regard for the general manager's position in the NBA. And I think just talking with league executives yesterday, that the theory is that Dan Gilbert thinks that you can roll out the ball and let LeBron James take over here. And I think he's going to learn the hard way next summer. I really do. And where this Cavaliers team goes next summer, if LeBron James does go into free agency, it's going to be a lesson learned here.
Find that wild when you say learn the hard way, considering he's gone through this already. You know?
I know. And does he think that LeBron is going to stay? Like, what are you hearing that he actually thinks?
Well, I think he's treating it as LeBron James is on the last year of his contract, and the likelihood is that he'll opt out and he'll be a free agent once again, and he'll go through his options right now. And I have high regard for Kobe Altman, their assistant GM, who's taking over right now. But just talking with teams, they regard that job as the hardest in the NBA, and that is not an easy job to take over. And whoever takes over, the question is, do you want to be the person who drives LeBron James out of Cleveland?
Yeah, that's not a good way to start a legacy here.
Look,
yeah, because you're caught in a tough place. You have an owner who has a high demand, and then you have a superstar, the greatest basketball player right now on the planet, who also has a high demand. You have to find that middle ground, and we saw that previously with Griffin, who did a great job. Let's go to the Celtics here now. Woj and Ramona Shelburne reporting last night that they're in discussions with the Jazz to do a sign-and-trade deal for Gordon Hayward that would send Jay Crowder to Utah. They play the same position. What are the benefits for the Celtics to trade Crowder?
Well, I don't see any benefits right now at all. I don't. I know there's an overload at the small forward position when you drafted Jason Tatum, you have Jaylen Brown, Crowder, and now you had Gordon Hayward. I think it's best to hold on to him and maybe use him and maybe Avery Bradley as an asset in the future here. I think you could still get away with moving a Terry Rozier or Demetrius Jackson, Jordan Mickey. I know you'll be about $300,000 short the max number. But if I'm the Celtics, I'm going back to Mark Bartlesy, the agent for Gordon Hayward, and saying, hey, this is what we have. We've got 29.3 instead of 29.7 million. We want to use Jay Crowder down the road to maybe get us a center here.
That's fascinating.
It is, right?
Yeah.
You got to position your peeps.
Yes.
As for the Lakers, they've been really quiet this offseason. As you look at the current contracts on their roster, how do you see them being set up for future moves?
Well, I think they're going to be conservative right now. I think you've seen the last 4 days of free agency, one of the few teams that hasn't gone out and made a move. Right now, about $17.2 million in cap space, 12 players under contract. I think you'll see players maybe like a Rajon Rondo sign there for a one-year deal at a high number, at a $10 million number. And that will preserve the Lakers' flexibility next summer. I also think you probably won't see any rookie extension talks when it comes to Julius Randle, just to preserve that room. And what it sets up for the Lakers next summer is we could see a team with $60 to $65 million in cap space. And as you guys know, in a league that a lot of teams have spent the last couple days, including last summer, the Lakers are going to be in the pole position when it comes to free agency in 2018.
Bobby Marks, he's going to be back at 8:45 for more basketball discussions. Bobby, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Hey, we got a standing no here the day before we get the not top 10. Brought to you by Shane Whittington. For this play in the Spurs-Celtics game, makes a nice steal, looks to have an easy bucket. Oh, no. Losing the ball mid-flight. And then he crashes into the cameraman. Yeah, that adds that extra insult right there. Help the man up, man. Yes, please, yes. Guy with the camera. Spurs will go on the win. Shane Whittington is making SportsCenter for all the wrong reasons, and I imagine we will see him again tomorrow.
Kevin, you like pickles?
Yeah.
This is top in a pickle, right?
I've seen some pickles.